You know what's funny? So being 0-1, you'd still be qualified enough to fight Mayweather because that's what Logan Paul was 0-1 going into that fight. Hey guys, got a fun video for you today, and I'll kind of throw my foot in the fight promotion game here with this one. But my guest today is none other than Rokas from the Martial Arts Journey. Pretty popular YouTube channel. Check it out. I'll link it in the description below. If you're not aware of who Rokas is, basically he's an ex-Aikido instructor who kind of got disheartened by the art and then sought out other martial arts that he thought might be more effective. So follow him on that journey. There's a lot of cool content on there, a lot of information. And his journey overall I find pretty entertaining because it actually led him to competitive fighting, which in this video we're going to discuss his potential next fight. Anyway, if you like this kind of content, hit that like button, subscribe if you're not yet subscribed, hit that bell notification so you can see whenever I put out cool content like this. And with all that said, let's talk about Rokas' potential next fight. Maybe it could be Mayweather, who knows? How many MMA fights have you had? I know you had at least one.
Just one, just that
Just the one.
one. I like to say I'm an 0-1 fighter. I was supposed to have a second one. So I was training in Ireland with John Kavanagh, the coach of Conor McGregor, and I was training with the pro guys. I was nowhere we're near their level, but for some reason I was training with them, and I was preparing for a fight. And I had my opponent, I had a date and everything. But in retrospect, I think I burned myself out. I trained way more than I needed to with way tougher guys than myself. They were all nice and everything, but it's just like I was always exhausted. And eventually I injured myself. Like I popped my ankle.
Oof.
There was like a little pop from somewhere, who knows. And then, so yeah, I injured myself and I had to call off the fight. And so that second fight never happened. So I was very close to having a second fight. But then later, I burned myself out from martial arts in general, took a year's break.
You don't know what it's like in there.
You look a little stressed.
Oh, I'm stressed.
And now this year I restarted. And the second fight is on my mind. I keep thinking about it. But beforehand, I was very much rushing and pushing it. I was like, I'm getting older and I wasted so much time with Aikido. And I'm like, I need to catch up and do some fights. That was my initial mindset, but eventually I realized, you know what? I actually want to do the opposite. I want to train well. I want to reach a level where I feel confident. Because the first time I went to the cage, I mean, like, I knew some stuff, but like already now I know so much more and I feel so much more comfortable.
You drew up plans for this?
No, it's all in my head.
I don't see how you can get comfortable like that.
Well, I'll get comfortable.
When do you intend to do this?
Well, somehow I'll just squeeze in an MMA fight as soon as I can. So that's
You know what's funny? So being 0-1, you'd still be qualified enough to fight Mayweather because that's what Logan Paul was 0-1 going into that fight. It's like on paper, 50-0 Mayweather, 0-1 Logan Paul. You're like,
right.
Wait a minute, can't the dude at least be 1-0? Like, how ridiculous is this? Dude had one fight and he lost, and he fights the best, greatest boxer of all time.
Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. Oh.
Yeah, that's amazing, man.
Yeah, and you have to be a YouTuber as well, so I qualify on both.
Yeah, I was gonna say that should be your second fight, man.
Yeah, right.
Rokas versus Mayweather. That's the money fight right there, man. I'd watch. That's funny. We all know the Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul fight wasn't going to be competitive. It was going to be pretty lopsided, in fact. I guess it's always possible that the much larger Logan Paul could have landed a lucky punch or two, but the fight happened because people were curious enough to see it. In fact, the rematch between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder only sold 80% of the amount of pay-per-views that Mayweather versus Logan Paul did. So in short, a lot of money was made. In fact, Mayweather called it legalized bank robbery. Mayweather said he made $10 million just to show up, another $30 million leading up to the bout through appearances and endorsements, and then 50% of the pay-per-view revenue, which had 1 million buys, so that's another $50 million. All combined, that's $90 million. To put that in perspective, that's more than NBA Hall of Famers Magic Johnson and Larry Bird earned in their entire NBA careers combined. Let that sink in for a minute. Both Magic Johnson and Larry Bird played 13 seasons apiece. That's 26 years combined. Mayweather made more than them in 24 minutes of work. Of course, we're not factoring in inflation or money outside of the NBA that Magic Johnson and Larry Bird made, but still, those figures are truly astounding. They don't call him Floyd Money Mayweather for nothing. He must have taken a page out of Mr. T's playbook.
They got to pay me.
Oh, so I know you're training kickboxing now.
Yeah.
Is it Dutch kickboxing? Is it Thai? Is it like a hybrid or a combination?
It's a good question. I never asked my coach. I have a tendency to believe it's more Dutch, although I honestly don't know that much about kickboxing. So the thing is, So my coach is hardcore. He's world champion kickboxer through the Olympics, I think, like
Oh,
or
wow.
something like that. So he's like top level, and he's fighting in Glory right now.
Oh, Glory's cool.
And
I like
his
Glory.
next fight in July, in a few weeks from now, he's preparing for his fight. So we're training on our own. But if he wins the next fight, he'll fight the champion. So he's
That
hardcore
is
guy.
cool, man.
Yeah. So but he started his YouTube channel, and through a different friend of mine, we got connected, and he asked me for some YouTube tips, and eventually we started having conversations, and he liked my stuff, and then he invited me to train with him, like in this private group. So I kind of naturally squeezed into his private group, which is like all amateur fighters, like not even fighters, like just like interesting, cool people who train with him. And so I trained with them. But I never went through the process of, oh, I want to train kickboxing. Let me learn what kickboxing is, or what does this guy do? I just kind of naturally rolled into it. I know he did some Thai in Thailand and stuff like that, but I think he's more like that kind of traditional kickboxing, if that means anything.
How quickly are you picking up the striking and kickboxing, by the way?
I don't know. I don't really. I don't have like a way to compare. I think I'm doing okay. Like I think in general through Aikido, I think one of the beneficial parts of Aikido is that it's really complex. Like there's a lot of intricate details, things you need to memorize, copy. The movements are long, and so I think the brain becomes used to. There's a specific term for that, which I don't remember, but whatever you see, you're able to replicate. And I think that made me into a good student, like both in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and other martial arts. Like I'm really focused, and I look at what people are teaching me, and I kind of take it over. I still don't know how good I am in general, but I think I'm a good student. Maybe that could
Okay.
be an
Yeah. I
answer.
mean, if you're a good student, and it sounds like you're really open to learning, like you said, you completely just put the Aikido or whatever aside, and you're just like,
Right.
okay, we're learning this. Let's just focus on this. So, yeah, it sounds like you're definitely a good student just based on me hearing that.
But I'll just say this one more thing. When I sparred my coach, I feel like I'm nothing. So,
Well, I mean, this guy is right on the verge of having a world title fight. So, I would hope he would make you feel like that. It would only make sense, man. Just like if he was doing Aikido drills with you, I'm sure he would feel like nothing, and that would make perfect sense,
True.
But here's a question for you. So it sounds like you do want to eventually get a second fight. Do you think you're going to do MMA again, or do you think maybe you just want to do like a kickboxing fight?
Yeah, I thought about it, and I'm interested in both. Like part of me, when I actually started training kickboxing, as I said, it kind of happened unplanned. At that moment, I was burnt out from martial arts, and I wasn't really much into practicing. And just I tried a few kickboxing classes, and I was like, actually, you know what? I'm starting to like martial arts again. But the thing is, one of the things I discovered through kickboxing was kind of the ease of learning one thing at a time. Because from Aikido, I trained some BJJ on the side during my last Aikido years, but then I went right into training MMA 6 days per week, like 4 hours per day. And I had to learn everything. I had to learn wrestling and striking and grappling, and there was so much. And then I moved on to train in Ireland. That was the same thing. I was training with pro fighters who knew everything already, and I felt like I'm way behind. And so there was always that stress of I don't know so much stuff, and there's so much to learn. But then I started training kickboxing, and I'm like, oh, actually, no, I can. There's still so much. It's like an iceberg. You see the top, but it's like goes so deep. You can work on your jab for your whole life, but it's one thing at a time. I can focus on a kick. I can focus on a strike. The strikes are essentially, you have like 6 strikes and some variations of it. It's not like 1,000 different strikes that you need to learn. And so it's really relieving to just do that one thing at a time. And that's something I think about a fight as well. Like I'm tempted to do an MMA fight again because that's where I started, and I like MMA, and I think I probably still am superior in grappling than my striking. My grappling is probably more superior than striking because I just did it for longer.
Sure.
But so it makes sense for me to combine the two and go to MMA. But MMA sounds stressful because, I mean, it's stressful to fight in general. But I'm like, the guy can go for a takedown, and what if grappling starts and there's striking and there's the cage. There's so many things you need to take into account. And then I think about a kickboxing fight, I'm like, oh, it's just striking. It's like as much as it can be just striking, but it's only one thing. It's just like you need to kick and you need to punch. So that kind of feels less stressful. I don't know if it's true or not because I haven't been in a ring fighting kickboxing, but part of me is tempted to have that kind of experience where you know exactly what's going to happen. You're just going to strike each other. You don't need to worry. Are you going to go on the ground? Are you going to go to the cage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, you could really focus on the striking, not worried about the takedown or anything.
Right.
So, and I'm gonna put this out there, by the way, for the video topic. Rokas versus Mayweather. I got to use that in the title. But if that fight falls through, then maybe it'll just be the kickboxing or the MMA match. But based on what you were saying about like the stressful nature of fighting, that's another concept that George was describing to me, and Sistema completely eradicates that somehow. So it's so advanced, like the way you're breathing. You know how like you exhale when you strike and do all this stuff. With Sistema, like you're not thinking about none of that, and you're just breathing like you normally would in a non-stressful situation as you're doing stuff. So again, like the concepts and everything behind it is just it's nothing how we all think about fighting, even having trained in different arts. Like it's so backwards that's why I find it so fascinating.
Right.
But you'll need somebody like George to explain all the little things. And I could let him know, hey, Rokas may be interested in talking to you in the future. If you want to email him, if you don't mind me giving him an email address.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be
cool, man. So I'm going to have George S. Pogasic more on my channel, more videos. Make sure to watch a previous video I already did with them titled, What If Steven Seagal Really Did Teach Anderson Silva and Lyota Machida That Front Kick? And George made some good points. There's almost some systema-like concepts going on. But anyway, check for future videos with him. Check Rokas' channel in the future. I'm going to put more videos out with me and Rokas, with me and George, with me and a lot of other people. I got a lot of editing to do. So make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of that future content.